Hi everybody, I'm Jeremiah Sammons, Director of Education for Salon and Spa Wholesaler. Today what we're going to talk about is our keratin smoothing system. Now here at Salon and Spa Wholesaler, when it comes to keratin, we have a number of different options. Last week we talked about our Express Keratin. Express Keratin is a keratin service that can be done in about 20 to 30 minutes, requires no downtime. You use it instead of the conditioner after a shampoo, preferably a clarifying shampoo. You use this, you just do your normal blow dry. It's going to cut down blow dry time by about 50%, smooth the hair, keep it frizz free and healthier, reinforcing those hair fibers for about 1 month. Another type of keratin we have is our Macvoil Organic Keratin Smoothing System. Now our Macvoil Keratin Organic Smoothing System has a green top, and that green top's to remind you it's all natural. So we have it in a 12 ounce and we also have it in a 4 ounce. Now the Keratin Organic Smoothing System is a great smoothing system for those clients that are immunosuppressed, have allergies, or anybody that's moved from Austin, those health nuts out there that want the unnatural. It has to be healthy. It's also great for those stylists that have breathing issues and want the lowest amount of fumes possible with the healthiest product. The Macvoil Organic is going to last about 3 months in the hair. With the Organic, you're going to do the same steps that you would for the Extra, except at the end, you're going to end up shampooing the hair and conditioning it the same day that you just did the keratin. So those clients are going to be smooth twice. It lasts for about 3 months and is a wonderful treatment. While we will go ahead and review this one slightly, today my goal is to talk about my favorite Macvoil Keratin Smoothing System, and that's the Extra Strength. For those of you that know me, I tend to be a little extra, and the Extra Strength Organic Smoothing System is one of the best ways to achieve that extra beautiful hair. So it also comes in 2 sizes, 12 ounces and 4 ounces. The 12 ounce should do between 12 and 20 clients. So 12 to 20 clients, it's a lot of clients. How many of you out there right now do keratin? Brazilian Blowout, Keratin Complex, the Macvoil Keratin Smoothing System? Anybody out there? Well, if you don't, adding keratin to your repertoire would be a great way to add between $20,000 to $30,000 a year. And for that, let's just take a look at some basic math. So I am going to turn this just 1 second to the whiteboard. Now, for those of you that don't know it, I used to teach elementary school, high school, and college. So I like whiteboards. Here in Houston, the average selling price for a keratin infusion is between $200 and $350. That right there is probably your goal for a keratin smoothing service. So I myself charge $350. Well, let's go ahead and take it about halfway, and let's just say for the ease of mathematics that we're going to charge $300 for the service. There are 52 weeks in a year, right everybody? So if you do 1 keratin a week, just 1, whether it's on your mom, somebody from church, one of the PTA members, somebody from your neighborhood, or just 1 client that you can convince to get keratin in their hair, that means you would do 52 of them a year. So 52 times 300. Now remember, this is not including the haircut, this is not including any color, not including any other service. So let's just go ahead and do the math. So let's go ahead and carry both of these zeros down. 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 5 is 15. So that means if you do 1 keratin service each week in the year, you're going to add $15,600 to your income. That's not even counting a tip. Now, let's go ahead and say that those clients tip you 20%. So we'll say that the clients tip 20%. Let's go ahead and cancel that. 0, 0, do this. 7, 14, 1, 6, 8. 8 times 16, 0, 0. That's $780 in tips. So $15,600 plus $780 in tips. 0, 8, 15, 6, 1. Meaning that you're going to add $16,580 just by doing 1 keratin a week. That's a lot of money. Now when you start factoring in colors and cuts and all the other services that go along with this and the retail, it's very easy to add $20,000 to $30,000 with still 1 keratin a week. Now if you double that to 2 keratins a week, or triple that to 3 keratins a week, all of a sudden you're making a lot of money. Keratin is probably one of my favorite processes in the salon because it's something clients cannot do at home. A lot of times clients will try to do their own color. They'll mess up their own haircuts. But keratin is something that we do in the salon, and my clients love it. It repairs the damage to the cuticle of the hair, it smooths it, it makes hair frizz-free, and repairs a lot of damage. Clients are happier after keratin services. So again, just doing 1 keratin a week, it's very easy to see how you could add $20,000 to $30,000 a year to your services. Now work on adding more. So one of the questions that I sometimes get about keratin is, how do you sell keratin? And I'm going to tell you, I sell it by mentioning it to every single client. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much money you don't have. I bring it up to every client with long hair because I live in Houston. Here in Houston, we have a lot of humidity. And so some of you have seen this before in my demonstration, but I'm going to explain to you how I sell keratin. I use a very advanced scientific tool that I am willing to sell all of you for $100. Come on in, pay me $100, and I will give you this advanced scientific tool. Oh, yeah, it's a roll of toilet paper. So what I do is I take the roll of toilet paper and I take off just a small section. And I explain to the client, this toilet paper is a lot like your hair. So when I roll it up, what I'm doing is I'm creating layers and layers and layers on the inside of the hair strand. So if I were to cut a piece of hair, it looks sort of like this, kind of cylindrical. Cut it, turn it to the side, and you can see all these layers. Same thing, the layers that are inside of a hair strand. The very center being the medulla, this being the cortex, and the outer layer being the cuticle. Now, this outer layer of toilet paper is a lot like your cuticle. Your cuticle has millions of little ridges that absorb moisture, and they're textured, same as this toilet paper. See the little texture to the toilet paper, the little ridges? So, the same thing that happens to this toilet paper happens to your hair when you walk outside in Houston. So we walk outside in Houston, we're walking down the street. As soon as you walk outside, what happens? There's humidity in the air. So the humidity in the air starts getting absorbed by the toilet paper. And you're walking, just having fun, bopping down the street, and pretty soon your hair strand is weak and limp, has no volume, has no body. There's no strength to it anymore. Kind of reminds me of one of my exes. Just flopping around, not any good for anything. Now, this hair that's filled with moisture and humidity now is very, very fragile. So what other things do you do with your hair all day? Well, some of you guys are going to comb it, right? And some of you guys are going to use a flat iron it and curl it. And some of you guys are going to twist it and play on it. And there's a few of you guys that are going to go ahead and chew on it. Oh yeah, deny it if you want to, but I've seen some of you. So what ends up happening is that hair starts to look like this. These are called micro channels in the hair. And then we have where the hair starts to split at the end. Now when the hair starts to split at the end, what do we call that? Good morning, Libya, Santiago. I know one of you two know this. So when we have the hair starting to splinter at the end of the hair, what would you call that? A split end. And so most of the time we have to go ahead and trim those off before they split up the hair. You know, when you look at these micro channels, this damage to the hair strand, it's a lot like driving down Westheimer Road. So you're driving down the road, and then boom! What was that? It was a pothole. The thing about potholes is it's a divot, and in that divot it fills with moisture and works to destroy the roads. Well, your hair has potholes too. So with keratin, what we're going to do is I'm going to take the hair and I'm going to fill it with as much keratin as it can handle. I'm going to spray it down with keratin. We're going to fill up every one of those potholes with keratin till it can't hold any more moisture. Then we're going to take a blow dryer and we're going to blow dry all the moisture out of that hair, leaving nothing but the bonded keratin settled into that hair strand to make it smooth. And then finally, we'll take a flat iron, and we're going to take a flat iron and we're going to permanently bond that keratin, heating it up to at least 380 degrees, bonding the keratin permanently to the hair strand. So, how long does keratin last? Well, if you're using the organic, it's going to last about 3 months. If you're using the extra, it's going to last about 4 months. But the truth of the matter is, it is a permanent process. You just get more damage after that time. Does everybody understand? Great. So this is how I explain keratin to my clients. It's sort of like if you have kids. How many of them ever did yarn art when they were little? You know, they take the string and they arrange it in a shape, and then they go ahead and they put glue on it to strengthen it, because the glue fills in all the gaps on that yarn art. And so when it dries, it's a little bit stiffer, a little bit stronger. Same thing happens to your hair. What happens is we're reinforcing it, we're stiffening it, we're making it stronger. So keratin is a great process for somebody with very damaged hair. We just have to be careful how we do it. Now, a couple of things that people sometimes ask, or problems that stylists sometimes face. Sometimes I have a stylist that will call me up and she'll be like, Jeremiah, my client came in and I did the keratin and it did not make her hair straight enough. Well, keratin is not a straightening service. Keratin is a bond smoothing service, a cuticle smoothing service, a strengthening service. While you can relax a curl up to 4 levels, meaning somebody with a very, very tight curl, if we use a little additional heat, put a little additional stretching on the hair itself, force it into a shape we want, and bond the keratin in that shape, we can reduce the amount of curl. But it's not meant to make the hair perfectly straight. We have relaxers and straightening services for those. And then we can do a keratin afterwards. Another thing that I hear people say, and these are for my curly haired clients, you know, the ones with beautiful, beautiful curls, and they're like, oh no, I couldn't possibly get keratin because I love my curly hair and I didn't want it straight. Well, that's good. I don't want your curly hair straight either. What I want is your curly hair not frizzy mess. With those clients that have curls and want to keep their curls, that's perfect. We use a lower heat. The lowest heat we should ever use with keratin is about 380 degrees. It will do less passes and less tension. So we're still bonding the keratin to the hair strand, but we're actually bonding it in the shape of the curl so that you're going to keep your curl the first time that you wash it. It'll all come back. It's not going to soften your curl too much. For those clients, I use 380 degrees. I maybe use 5 passes with my flat iron. For the client that wants super duper straight hair, I'm going to use higher, probably use around 400 degrees. And then I may do 10 to 12 passes with a flat iron. So every client who can withstand the heat of a flat iron is the perfect candidate for a keratin infusion. And if their hair is not strong enough for a flat iron, then go ahead and do the Keratin Express, because you can do that with just a blow dryer. Hello to Guatemala and Houston, and where else do we see? San Antonio. Hi everybody, I'm glad that you're joining us today. Does anybody have any questions about how they explain keratin to their clients? Because if not, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on my beautiful model. Okay, I don't see any questions, though you guys are free to ask them as they come up. But I'd like to introduce you first to my beautiful model. So my beautiful model, Alexa. Oh, Santiago asked me a question. If there's extremely chemical damaged hair, is there a possibility that keratin won't take in some areas? No, that's not a possibility. I'm going to turn you back to my whiteboard. So what happens is in the hair, this right here, and I'll never be an artist, is a hair. And let's say that she has extremely fried her hair. And so she does a giant chunk out of it here. And there's a giant chunk out of it here. And let's say there's some here. She has some little micro tearing here. So this hair is extremely damaged. What you're going to do is when you clarify the hair, you're going to clean out anything you can from these holes. Sort of like a dentist, how they drill out a cavity. So you're drilling out any cavity in the hole. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use keratin to fill those gaps. So then keratin will fill that gap here. We'll fill that gap here. We'll fill that gap here. And we'll work to fill these gaps. Then keratin kind of seals the entire outside. With like a layer of shellac to hold moisture in, keep damage out. Can you guys see that okay? So the truth of the matter is, the keratin may not last the full time. It's a permanent process, but over time, if an area continues to deteriorate, some of it may come out. But the keratin will take, and the hair will be a lot nicer than it ever was going to be before you did it. It just means that she may have to get keratin a little bit sooner if she wants to continue the upkeep on her hair. For a client with that much damage, I would probably go ahead and do the Passport 1 and 2 together to make the Passport Bond reconstruction treatment to repair the inside of the hair, and then I'll do the keratin to smooth and finish the outside. That right there for somebody with super damaged hair is a great way to double team those hair strands and repair. I see we have somebody from Australia that's joined us. Hey Valentina, I love Australia. I have a lot of friends there. Let's see. And Ronaldo, you explain it the same way. That's a great way to explain it. I bet you sell a lot of keratin. Now Valentina, you say your hair was pretty much burnt and keratin made it perfect. You know, keratin is a great way to repair damage, especially on burned hair. Like I was just saying to Santiago, I would do a Passport Bond reconstruction treatment ahead of time. That's our Passport 1 with Passport 2. Leave it on the hair for 20 minutes. That's going to go ahead and rebuild the disulfide and hydrogen bonds that are broken inside the hair. then I would just go ahead and rinse and go straight into a keratin service. You repaired the inside bonds, and now what you're doing is you're filling any gaps between them. Valentina, can alcohol in products strip the keratin? Alcohol is very, very drying in products. So yes, alcohol is not so much going to strip the keratin as it is cause new damage or cause damage around where the keratin's filled. So if you have a gap in your tooth like that, and we went ahead and filled it with keratin, and you cause damage on the edges, over time that keratin can start to deteriorate also. So product selection is a wonderful thing. You know, I told you about the keratins we have, but we also have a keratin smoothing shampoo and a keratin smoothing conditioner for aftercare for your clients. I certainly recommend that to all your clients. Barbara, you're welcome, darling. Santiago, Ronaldo, I would love to work with you. I have the same explanation, toy client and hairdresser. Come on in sometime and say hi. I love meeting new hairstylists. Very, very possible you could teach me a thing or two. You know, one last thing about explaining this to your client's hair, or for your clients when you're explaining about their hair. Understand, keratin's a large investment. I grew up poor. The most I ever remember my mom spending on her hair, she spent $70 on her hair one time before a high school reunion. And she was shocked. I mean, she cried about it, was upset. It was way too much money for her back then. You know, she had 4 kids she was trying to support. And for us, even when she guiltily told us that she spent $70 on her hair, I was like, oh my God. To me, that seemed like more money than anything in the world. But it looked good. Now, I think we spend more time on our appearance. You know, now that I'm in the industry, I see just how much people spend on their hair. And they're willing to come up with that money. So never count a client out. There have been many times where I've had clients that I had another stylist tell me, oh, you know, Jeremiah, why are you telling her about keratin? She can't afford that. She can't afford you. And lo and behold, a couple weeks later, she comes in with the money and she's getting the keratin. One of my best clients spends about $500 every 3 to 4 months on her hair. And to look at her, you'd never think that she could afford it. But I'll tell you this, she's a housekeeper rocking some hot hair and looked amazing for her son's wedding. Where are you? I am at Salon Spa Wholesaler right now. Yeah, I'll hit you up later on. So let me go ahead and tell you now how you do the service. So I've explained to my client what we're going to do, but now I want you and I to all take a look at her hair. So looking at Alexa's hair, the first thing that we can see is she's getting a little older. I know she wants me to hide this part, but it's so much more fun not to. So we can see that she has a little gray in here, or as we like to call them, natural highlights. Her root area is very strong and very healthy. She has some natural curl in here that I bet gets frizzy as heck. Alexa, how badly does your hair frizz in this humidity?
It's pretty bad. It's like a sponge.
So yeah, you can tell right away. And she has a lot of hair. It's a finer, thinner hair, but density here, she has a lot. Now, after we get away from her base, the next thing I see is that at some point, she had a lot of chemical services done to her hair. Because about this point down, especially on the ends, what I'm feeling is fried frizz Fritos, which is that very nice crispy feeling you get. So very smooth and healthy, kind of fried, and down here looks like she made Fritos. And you can see that on the ends. So she's an excellent keratin client who will probably need a bit of a trim, just to kind of take some of those split ends off. Come down here. You guys can see that some of her split ends have split ends. But otherwise, she has pretty hair. So the very first thing I'm going to do is grab a towel and drape her. Alexa, how often do you shampoo your hair?
Like every 5 days.
So once every 5 days? Good. So the very first thing you have to decide as a stylist is how you're going to clean out the cuticle of your client's hair. I always recommend shampooing with a clarifying shampoo 2 to 3 times. 2 to 3 times is about what you need to do in order to clean out that cuticle and properly open it. So we actually have a smoothing clarifying shampoo with Macvoil. So I start off every one of my processes by using the smoothing clarifying shampoo, and I'll shampoo 2 to 3 times. On Alexa's hair, because it is a finer hair, I think that 2 times will be fine, even though she only washes it every 5 days. On my black clients who grease their scalp or use a lot of heavier oils, I definitely are going to clarify 3, maybe even 4 times if I have to. Because what happens is, how many of you ever gone to the dentist and had your teeth cleaned? And when you're done, you take your finger and you rub it across your teeth and you hear or feel that little squeak? That's what you want the hair to feel like. You want the hair to be so clean of oils that when you run your finger down it, you can hear and feel that little squeak. So we are going to go ahead and walk over to the shampoo bowl. So Alexa, you're going to start making your way over. I'm going to turn this around so you can kind of get a look at where I'm going. So Miss Alexa is laying back. Now, when I clarify hair, I'm using warm water. I'm not going overly hot. I'm definitely not going cold. Just cool water will cool and close the cuticle. Hot water just excites the scalp too much, and I'm not trying to excite the scalp a lot. So I want warm water. I'm going to test it on the inside of my wrist. Should be about like a baby's bottle. So this is my clarifying shampoo. It's a Macvoil clarifying shampoo. Get a nice handful of this, and I am going to start at the roots. You know, I know a lot of you guys start at the base of the hair, at the ends, just because it's easy to grab, and you think, oh, it has hairspray on it and everything else. But the truth is, the majority of the oil is going to be right up here at this base, at the scalp. So that's actually where all of my shampoo is going right now. Is on the scalp. I'm going to go ahead and give her a nice scalp massage. And then whatever else is left on my hands, I just kind of work that down a little bit. I don't need to do too much on the ends. And for me, I let it sit for a moment. So each one of my clarifying shampoos, I'm going to go ahead and let sit on the scalp for a couple minutes, because by letting it sit there is a chance to absorb some more oil. So then we come over to the other side, just to make sure that I'm getting both sides an equal amount of attention. So the very first thing I'm seeing on this first shampoo is that her hair's starting to curl up. So now I'm going to go ahead and just squeeze a little bit of this water out. And I'm going to come over here and get my clarifying shampoo. And it's sort of like one of those Mortal Kombat games. You kind of hear round 2, fight, as we fight to remove all the product buildup and oil from her hair. So I get a healthy amount of the clarifying shampoo. And the cleaner the scalp and hair are, the better the keratin will absorb, the longer the treatment will last. Okay, so I have gone ahead and clarified her hair. See if there's any good questions in here. Okay, so the very next thing that we can do would be to bring her over and start applying the keratin itself. Now, before that, I want to tell you about an upgrade that you can do in your salons. So I told you that I charge $350 for a keratin treatment. I also offer something called a passport bond reconstruction treatment, which is normally $75. But if you add it on to another service, I only charge $40. So at this time, this is a great time and place to offer that treatment to your client, because we've used the clarifying shampoo to lift all the oils, to clean out the cuticle itself, to make it very ready to absorb. So when your client, especially one that has very damaged hair like her, you can tell her, listen, we have something called a bond reconstruction treatment. It will repair the disulfide and hydrogen bonds inside of your hair in order to repair those bonds that actually hold the hair together. That, combined with the keratin to smooth the outside, creates a very strong hair shaft and will repair a lot of the damage that you've done over time. Totally an optional treatment. If you do it, you'll mix the passport 1 and 2, you'll put it on the hair, you let it sit for 20 minutes. You'll just go ahead and rinse the hair and then start on the keratin. If not, we're done with the cleansing phase and now we can start on keratin. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring her over. Okay. So all we're going to do here is towel dry her hair. That's it. We're not going to dry it. Just towel dry the majority of the moisture off. So her hair is still very, very, very damp, and that's fine. Now, I'm going to move this where hopefully you guys will be able to see. Great. So now you can go ahead and take a wide tooth comb, or you could take a detangling brush. We're just going to run it through her hair. Now remember, we did not condition. There's no conditioner at all. So there may be little sections that are a little rougher, which is why it's easiest to go in sections. So we've gotten all the knots, all the kinks out, made the hair very smooth. Now I'm just going to go ahead and do a four section part. So there's no, you do not need to dry the hair. The towel drying is enough. We have a very concentrated keratin. It does not include a lot of water. So we actually need the water that's in the hair as a way to help carry the keratin to the cortex of the hair. So I'm gonna do a four-part section, just the basic section we all learned in hair school. Right over the ears. Twist a clip. And I'll do the same for the front. So Alexa has a lot of natural curl slash wave. I mean, she has quite a bit of it. So what we have to find out from her is whether she wants to go as straight as possible or whether she wants to preserve her curl and wave and just get a lot of volume. Alexa, are you more of a volume girl or a straight girl?
Volume.
Volume. Didn't even have to ask her that one. Most clients that come in for a keratin infusion really just want Victoria's Secret hair. That big, voluptuous, just a nice amount of wave, can still curl it and keep all their volume. They just don't want the frizz. And so for those clients, after we apply the keratin, we'll pull each section up to 90 degrees when we flat iron it and when we blow dry it. So I have her hair in 4 sections. Now, this is an expensive process. You know, $350 is where it starts for me. So I need to make sure that the front is always going to be the smoothest and looks the best. So for me, I like to begin in the front. What I like to do now is I'll put on a pair of gloves. Put on my handy dandy gloves. I will get my scale out. Much like color, I weigh all my products so I know what I'm using. I'll get a bowl and brush. And now let me grab the keratin that I am opening today. Always shake up your products. It's very, very, very important. Not just keratin, but developers, liquid colors, any liquid products, you need to shake up. So I'm gonna do my little keratin dance, you know, gonna make some money, money's coming, honey, you know, that little dance. Make sure I take off my little heat seal. Now, the average client is going to use about 3/4 of an ounce. That's just the average client. The most I've ever used on a client would be 1.5 ounces. Alexa has quite a bit of hair. I'm willing to bet we'll use about 1 ounce on her. So I'm gonna go with 1 ounce. I'm gonna measure out 30 grams. So for the application process, you're going to need a fine-tooth comb, a bowl, and a brush. And what you're going to do is take sections down one at a time. Some people start at the bottom and work their way up. Some people start at the top and work their way down. I think today I feel like starting at the bottom. And so I'm going to take small sections. Go ahead and comb it out. Then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to lightly go right up where the hair comes out of the hairline and work my way down. And then I'm going to take the next section. And I'll do the same thing. Grab the hair. This part's a very quick application. I don't need to oversaturate the product, but if I do, that's another reason I have the fine-tooth comb, because what happens is I will go into the hair, I will pull it through, and you see that anything extra that I have, it's pulled onto the comb. So I know if I have a lot of extra, it's right there. I can just work that into the next section. I can go ahead and just do that and marry the 2 sections until I'm not pulling extra. So you see, I didn't even have to add any. I'm pulling. I see that it still has enough in here to saturate that new hair. So now I'll just go ahead and grab a slightly larger section. If it starts looking just a little bit dry, it did right up here at the top, I'll apply, take my comb, see I'm pushing it, I get to push the extra right on down. I want to make sure all these little hairs are saturated but not oversaturated, so I'll comb in a couple different directions. And anything extra, I'll just to use on this next section. Start up here on the head. Work it down. Anything extra? So you do not need to oversaturate with this product. Even when you're done with a section, you can always run your comb through it again to filter out any extra product, and then just rub that onto another section. Or I keep a towel up here, have a towel right there that I can just wipe it onto. So this section is done. You'll see that I'm going to just go ahead, we're going to comb through it a couple times just to get out any extra keratin. Because the extra keratin won't help, it won't hurt. It leaves a little bit of a powder when you blow it dry, and it can cause a little bit more in the way of fumes. So I'll just wipe that on another section. Meanwhile, I'll turn her because I like to do both front sections first. Any questions? Can you explain why you're doing the keratin in a wet hair, not on dry hair? You guys see me here? Try that. Okay. So you have a great question. You want me to explain why I'm doing the keratin on wet hair instead of dry hair? Because many times, many keratin brands require you to go ahead and clarify the hair, then blow dry the hair, then apply keratin, then let the keratin sit, then blow dry the hair again, then flat iron the hair, then shampoo and condition the keratin, and then blow dry the hair again. Can you see how long that takes? Whew. No wonder those people, they have keratins that take 4 hours. Our keratin is specially formulated to work with the water molecules in the hair that were put there during the cleansing process. So what happens is our keratin bonds with those water molecules and work their way deep into the cortex of the hair. So you don't need to put the keratin onto dry hair. In fact, if you put keratin on dry hair, what you're going to find is, one, you're using twice as much keratin. Two, the keratin doesn't seem, it seems a lot more tacky at first. So like this keratin, you're gonna leave in the hair for 48 hours. If there were no water to begin with, the hair would feel kind of gross. And you just get better results this way. Because what happens is the water in the hair naturally wants to go to those little potholes that are in the hair strand. And then this is attracted to those water molecules, so it mixes in with them and becomes sort of like cement in there. So you just get much better results. This keratin will last for at least 4 months. I have a lot of clients that just get keratin every 6 months. Then I have some other, clients that are every 4 months. They're like, it's time for my keratin. Let's go. Keratin time. And I'm like, you can hold out a little bit longer. If you want to wait, it's still getting great results. I'm like, nope, it's time for my keratin. Those are the clients we all love. So we've eliminated some unnecessary steps to get some better results. Does that answer your question? You're not going to have any improved results by doing it on dry hair. You're just going to use a lot more keratin. And the consistency of the keratin will be a little off. So I just wipe whatever was left from the other section onto the hair. And now, just one time, I like to go over my front section, make sure if I have any extra keratin, which I do. Now we'll turn her and just apply it to this section back here. So I do a lot of keratin. I would venture to say that about 60% of my clients have keratin. They love it. They get it regularly. They tell their friends about it. So keratin has become a very important process in my income. In fact, my vacation money, every year I take a month off to go someplace in the world. Last year I spent a month in India. And how do I pay for it? With my keratin money. I bought myself a new truck, waiting for it to get here. I had to have it specially ordered from Dodge, and my license plate on that is going to say Kera RX, which is our new keratin line that'll be launching by the end of the year. So you see that I did a couple sections. Now I'm going to take them, run my comb through them, just again to get any excess keratin out. And to make sure it's evenly spread. So I start right up here at the base. Work it down, make sure it's all the way on the ends. You want to make sure those ends are saturated. Now, one of the problems that I see in a lot of salons are oversaturated. You know, some of these salons are using, first of all, products that, oh my gosh, are way too strong, and the smell, fumes, is enough to knock you out. And then on top of it, they're way oversaturating, and so they go to do a head of hair, and it clears the entire salon out. You know, then there's the other group that is so neurotic about how much keratin they put on hair that they barely put any, so the hair is not properly saturated. There's a fine balance. Hair should be saturated enough that as soon as I run my fine-tooth comb through it, I should be able to pull out any excess to put on another section or to wipe on my towel. And remember, we will be bonding this twice. We bond it first with the blow dryer when we remove any excess water that's in the hair. It starts binding the keratin to the hair itself. And then we'll use a flat iron. What we're not doing is cooking keratin, people. This is not a bakery. So I hate when I hear stylists say, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and use a flat iron on whatever temperature they use, and we're going to bake the keratin into the hair. No, we are permanently bonding the keratin to the hair. The same way you get a filling at the dentist and they use that little light to set the bonding agent. So I'm running my comb through the keratin. You see I'm getting very, very little. You'll always get a slight amount. Don't worry about it. It's only when you get an excess amount that you want to go ahead and wipe that out or use it on another section. So now we're on our last section. Any questions? Where are you? What state? I'm in Texas. Today, what we're using is the Macvoil Extra Keratin Smoothing System. So the brand we're using is Macvoil. It's made here in Texas, made right here in Houston. Macvoil, we have 3 keratins. We have the Express Keratin, which lasts for 1 month, that you do not flat iron, that you just use the blow dryer on. We have the extra strength, which lasts 4 months. That's the one that we're doing today. And we have an organic that lasts 3 months. I've been doing hair now for about 17 years. I've used most of the brands that are out there. I even worked for some of the other companies before teaching. And this has just been an excellent keratin for me. I used to use a couple of the other keratins that are popular here in Texas, but one of them they kept reformulating, and I didn't like the reformulation. And they got rid of their organic version, their zero, and I just was not happy with one that was left. I felt like the fumes became insane. And every time I would do one of those, clients would complain, other stylists would complain, so then I found the Macvoil Organic, and I love that for those clients. The extra strength is my favorite. The reason is when I'm done flat ironing the client, the service is over. She will not shampoo her hair for about 48 hours, so I don't have to shampoo her again or blow dry her again. She's done when she's flat ironed. And so I really appreciate that, because I always loathed those brands that required me to shampoo them right after I finished flat ironing them. You know, that's a lot of work doing that extra shampoo. So we're just finishing up this last section. Can you use it on blonde bleach hair? Oh, of course you can. This is a great product for blonde bleached hair. Blonde bleached hair, as you know, we rough up the cuticle to remove all that pigment. And so there are all those gaps in the hair. So it frizzes very easily, it breaks very easily, it's brittle, it looks dry, has little micro abrasions on the hair shaft itself, you know, causing little flyaways or little micro channels to stick up on the hair. So a keratin is amazing for people with very damaged blonde hair. Now, what I like to tell my stylists that take my classes is I like to color, keratin, cut. So I'll do the color first. As soon as I do the color, I'm going to do the keratin. The only difference is if you just did their color, obviously you're not going to clarify them. You know, you've already opened up the cuticle with the ammonia in the color. You've already shampooed the hair a couple times. Now, you also will not condition. So if you just did their color, go ahead and shampoo out the color from their hair and then do the keratin. No clarifying shampoo. Occasionally I get somebody that says, well, you know, I just did somebody's color and the keratin changed the color. Well, it changed the color because you used a clarifying shampoo. Don't clarify if you just did the color. So color, keratin, and then at the very end, I do a complementary dust. When I say a complementary dust, I mean that I take off just the little split ends. I do a dry cut, just taking off those little split ends for everybody. If they need a full haircut, I'm going to charge them for a full haircut on dry hair. So, because I'm probably going to be using the extra strength, which is left in the hair for 48 hours. For those of you that don't do dry cuts, you can always do the you can always do the cut after the color, but before the keratin. But you should practice your dry cutting skills because you're going to get the best cuts on dry hair because you know where the hair lays. So just finishing up this last section. So when I finish up this last section, I like to let it sit for 20 to 30 minutes, depending how busy you are in the salon. 20 to 30 minutes is plenty of time for the hair to absorb as much keratin as deeply as possible. Do not put them under a dryer. You don't need to put a cap on them. You can put a cap, but I do not use a cap. The heat starts to evaporate the water and the keratin, and it just smells, and then they get fumes in their eyes. For me, I'm not a fan of that. So I just go ahead, make sure I run my comb through it a couple times to catch any excess, keratin in the mix. and I let them sit. So I'm going to comb the hair away from her face. I'm actually going to comb everything just towards the back to melt it, keep it out of her face, out of her eyes. Okay. So normally I would just have one of my assistants bring her a mimosa or a cappuccino, and we would wait. So I'm going to give her 20 minutes. Alexa, you can have a 20-minute break. I'm going to get rid of her for about 20 minutes, and that way we can talk about some other things. So let's see what time it is. You have a clock over there? Okay. So I have 20 minutes to talk to you guys about keratin, some other stuff going on. Okay, I'm out, nice class. I have a client. Ronaldo, come on back and look later on. I mean, we're gonna be posting this on Salon Spa Wholesaler. You can watch it anytime today. Prentice, it's very nice to see you. You can always be late with the party. Can you color the same day with the smoother? Yes. Like I was just telling them, you want to color, keratin, cut. So for me, I go ahead and do my color. I will not clarify afterwards. So after I've done their color, I'll go ahead and shampoo with a normal shampoo, no conditioner. Then I'll go ahead and just do my keratin. And then I'll go ahead and cut, because I do dry cuts most of the time anyways. If by chance you're not very good at dry cutting, don't freak out. Color, then cut, and then do your keratin. You'll be fine on that too. But the best way is going to be color, keratin, cut. So while our model is processing for a few minutes, let's talk about a few things going on here in Texas, and really where all of you are too. So the first thing is, we all know that we have this coronavirus thing going around. Some of you are probably wondering why I don't have a mask on. Both Alexa and I have been tested. We put a mask on her. A mask on me, you guys can't understand me. We tried the video and it just comes out too muffled. So we've both been tested, we're fine. Keep our fingers crossed for the future. And we're keeping a mask on her. I am not masking today so that you guys can understand everything I say. While we're talking about coronavirus and PPE, let me show you a few things that we have to offer here at Salon and Spa. So Salon and Spa Wholesaler has disposable capes. The disposable cape that go on your client, tie in the back. They're great for color, for cutting, especially right now when you don't have time to do laundry in the middle of the day. The disposable capes, we have boxes of 50. It's 50 capes for, I believe, $12.95. They're excellent capes. They're very, very thick. I also use them for my balayage clients. Even when I have plenty of capes, my clients with super long hair or balayage, or any of my clients getting red done, I'll actually turn the cape around so I don't stain the back of my chair and have color all over the place. On my balayage clients, I will paint right on this, and when I'm done, I pull it up as a head wrap. Again, we have 50 of these for $12.95, so it's a great deal. We also have disposable aprons. They come in a box of 100 disposable aprons. They're like this. For my esthetician friends out there, massage therapists, and cosmetologists, these are great. It's a box of 100 for $12.95. It's a very thin disposable apron for you. And it's just a great tool, especially when you're going through clients with color and you don't have time to change your apron between each and every person. You know, you can go ahead and throw it out and move on. Chasticide we have for $11.95 here in Houston. This is a gallon of Chasticide. It'll make 32 gallons of Chasticide when mixed with water. So it's 1 part Chasticide to 32 parts water. I mix Chasticide. I mix it for my spray bottles as a cleansing agent. I also make it as my sanitizer disinfectant. We have KN95 masks for those of you wanting something a little stronger for yourself. And then we have boxes of 50 masks. 50 masks like Alexa had on. These are $19.95 for 50 of them. So we have masks too. We have gloves, latex and plastic gloves at a very reasonable price. Oster 5-in-1 clipper side. Clean your clippers, clean your shears, disinfect them, and lubricate them at the same time. Or we have my favorite for cleaning your shears and your clippers. It's the H42. This is going to cleanse, disinfect, and lubricate your shears and your clippers. The last thing I'm going to tell you about, well, three more things. We have the plastic shield masks. So we do have these, and we have the mask extenders that you put in the back of your head so the mask doesn't go over the ears anymore. It sits on the back of your neck. The last thing we're talking about is hand sanitizer. We have hand sanitizer in gallons. We have it in liters. We have 8-ounce bottles, 4-ounce bottles, and we have alcohol sprays. So if you need any sanitizing PPE products, go ahead and give us a call. We have all of that in stock. We actually make the hand sanitizers right here. And we have a 10,000 square foot showroom up front, but we have a 35,000 square foot laboratory in the back that we make hair care products for companies all around the world. So, do you have everything in stock? Yes, Lena, we have everything in stock. Everything I just showed you and a lot more. I didn't want to waste your time and bore you. But we have a lot of PPE in stock. Pretty much everything you could look for in a salon. Lindy, how long does the treatment last? The keratin extra strength, that's the one with the red cap, lasts at least 4 months. The organic has a green cap and it lasts for at least 3 months. I like to tell my clients that these are permanent processes. But after about 4 or 3 months, according to which process you do, you start to see all the great advantages of having it done start to fade. But you'll have the full effects for 4 months with the extra and 3 months with the organic. We also have a Keratin Express, which lasts 1 month. Let's see, Michelle wants a repeat price of the Chasticide. Our Chasticide for the gallon is $11.95. So this will make 32 gallons of Chasticide. $11.95 is about a third of the price of what most of you guys are paying for your barbicides, and it will kill coronavirus. Lena, you're asking me, what does it smell like? The keratin has a very light, fruity smell. I like our keratin. We have worked very, very hard to lower the amount of chemicals in it that have smells, or unpleasant smells. Our organic, you don't even need gloves for. I use this on cancer patients all the time and people with chemical allergies. You know, we're in Houston. I have a lot of clients from MD Anderson Cancer Research Hospital, and they're immunosuppressed, so I tend to use the organic on them. I don't even need gloves when I use this on a client. Is it available in the UK? Yes, ma'am, it is. You can order that from salonwholesaler.com. So you just have to work that out with our front desk. Yemi in Francisco. Let's say I did a keratin treatment, next day she wants color. Can you color after the treatment? Ooh, that's a good question. Can you color after the treatment? I prefer to color before the treatment. Color, keratin, cut. If you've just done a keratin, you're probably best waiting a week before you color. Because what's happened is you filled that cuticle up with keratin. So now you want to open that cuticle layer up and take keratin out and then put some color in. You're going to remove a lot more keratin than you want to. So I would wait about a week for that to settle down. Can you explain more of the steps of the organic one? Okay, Elizabeth, the organic one is done exactly the same as the extra strength one, except with the extra strength one, when I'm done flat ironing, I'm finished. I'll go ahead and send the client home and tell her not to shampoo her hair for about 48 hours. With the organic, before she leaves, as soon as I finish flat ironing her hair, we're going to go back to the shampoo bowl. We'll go back to the shampoo bowl and shampoo and condition her hair again. And then I have to blow her dry again. It's the one thing I'm not a huge fan of for the organic, is that extra step. But it does work great. Let's see, so the flat iron does not strip the color. No, the flat iron does not strip the color. Instead, what the flat iron does is permanently bonds the keratin to the hair shaft. The heat from the flat iron will bond the keratin to the hair shaft. Can this be used in blonde bleach hair? Yes, it works great in bleached hair. Hey, Demi. Hey, Yami. Have I answered all of those questions? Great. I think I'm going to go ahead and turn off one of my lights because I have a beautiful halo. And I know my mom thinks I'm an angel, but it looks funny on my bald head, so give me 1 second. Okay, so we will see. For me, this looks better. I don't look like I'm missing part of my head. A little bit easier for you guys to see me now. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. For years now, we offer free classes every Monday, free live classes here in our showroom at Salon and Spa Wholesaler at 7830 West Park Drive. So every Monday we have classes. At least once a month there's one in Spanish. And at least once a month we have a hands-on class. Well, due to coronavirus right now, we're having to make this move onto Facebook Live. And it has been a learning experience. It's been a learning experience for us as educators, as us as a wholesaler and distributor, and a learning experience for all the stylists that have trusted us over the years to create and teach them about the products that we make here and distribute. So Alexa is still processing. For those of you that are just getting here, let's go ahead and go over the steps that we did. So the very first thing I did was I clarified her hair 2 to 3 times. I towel dried it. I brought her back over here. We applied keratin. I used about 1 ounce, which is 30 grams, put it in a bowl. I applied it to her hair in 4 sections. Each section, as I applied, I ran a fine-tooth comb through that section in order to go ahead and remove any excess product. Any excess product that was removed, I either wiped on another section, on the next section, or onto a towel. And I'm seeing Alexa returning to the classroom, so her processing time is up. Miss Alexa. Okay, so I'm going to adjust our mirror just a little bit. Can everybody see my beautiful model? And your kind of cute, very daddy-esque ball-headed instructor? Okay, so this is the easiest part, guys. It's something you do every single day. You are going to blow dry her hair. Now, the only thing that gets a little bit tricky about this is, again, you have to decide what you're doing with her hair. you need to ask yourself if either one, she wants super straight hair. If so, you're going to use more tension, take small sections, and pull the hair at 0 degrees elevation every section that you blow dry. To get it as straight as possible with the blow dryer, and then you'll do the exact same thing later on when we flat iron. The next option is somebody that wants all the volume in the world. For those clients, you'll still take 4 sections, you'll take small sections, and every section is blow dried at 90-degree elevation. So we live in Texas, and the beautiful Alexa, my model, is a Texas girl at heart. So she knows the higher the hair, the closer to God. And since Alexa has been mistaken for an angel many times, they must have been drunk, but they still mistook her. We know that she wants a lot of volume. So I'm going to go ahead and divide into 4 sections. Right at her ears. I'm going to pull these sections out of the way. And then for me, I'm going to save myself just a little bit of time and hassle because I know I'm going to do 90 degrees on each one of her sections. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-section these little sections a little bit. So I know this right here is going to be a section. I'm just going to save some time. I know this right here is going to be a section. This is not something you have to do. You could also do just a very rough blow dry. Nothing wrong with that. But for me, I like to give my clients the volume that they want. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to use my fancy schmancy Dyson blow dryer that I love, which Keratin paid for. I'm going to do a high blow and medium heat. And I'm just going to blow her out. What I'm doing is trying to go ahead, create volume, and build bridges. So she wants volume, I want it at 90 degrees. You'll see me pull it up and down and to the side, because again, I know that she is going to ultimately do a lot of volume with this hair. So by using this heat, I'm not only evaporating all the water, I'm also starting to bond that keratin to the hair. So you'll be able to see how much shinier the hair is already, and you'll be able to feel the smoothness of the hair. Now, I do not recommend metal bristles. Some people will use natural, like forehead brush. For me, those can be a little bit hard to get through really thick hair. So I'm just using an Olivia Garden speed brush. These bristles are like a plastic vinyl that heats up, has metal on the inside. It makes hair very smooth. You'll see that this one's really big. Size matters. It allows me to pull a lot of hair at the same time. So I'll save time to blow dry. What I want to do is make sure that I'm smoothing out that base and then pulling out. I want to smooth that keratin down the hair strand. Coating it, smoothing the hair. 90 degrees, and I want that volume. Again, trying to make sure I get that base heated up. Now, if she were trying to go super straight, I'd do all of this at 0 elevation, but she's not. She wants big Texas hair. The last one to the front. Make sure that's dry, and then you move on to the next section. I typically still like to do the front first, and I also turn on my flat iron so it can start heating up. So let me grab a couple clips, and we will head on over to this side. By doing the front first, it just, again, it allows her to see something in the mirror. See what her hair is doing, where she's headed. Now, once the hair is flat ironed, you cannot use any more clips in it. So obviously this is just the blow dry phase, so we're still okay clipping the hair. And I know some of you out there are thinking, oh no clips in keratin. You're right. You don't use clips in keratin after the keratin's been bonded to the hair, or you can have little divots or compressions in the hair. So I'm just dividing this up into 3 little sections. Save time later. No, unfortunately, we don't sell the Dyson here. But we do have some other great blow dryers. Again, 90 degrees, get that volume. And as it dries, you'll feel it start to smooth out. I have mine off so you guys can hear me. But when you come in the store, I'll definitely have it on. It's very important that you get it to 100% dry because you can't flat iron hair that's wet. Okay, now we'll do the back. Sorry for a second. So I prefer to do my blow dries section by section. Some people don't. Some people will just do a big rough blow dry for this, and there's nothing wrong with that. For me, I found that by smoothing the individual sections, my keratins last longer, and my clients are happier with their results. And so a happy client is a repeat client. Turn it down for me. So this is the very boring part of our section. want to make sure you guys can see this well. So her hair is definitely not flat. We've went ahead and we've blown quite a bit of volume into it. So that now we can start with the flat iron process. Go ahead, move a few things around. So because of the thickness of her hair, the very lowest temperature that you can use is 380 degrees. That's the lowest temperature. That's what you'd use on somebody with very dry, damaged hair, maybe somebody that was overly blonde. They say you can use up to 450 degrees. I never have. In 17 years, the highest temperature I ever used would be 420, and that was on somebody that probably needed a relaxer. A black client with super thick, coarse hair. I typically run somewhere between 380 and 410. On Alexa today, her base is fine, super healthy, but her ends are a little bit over processed. So I'm going to use 390 degrees on her. I think 390 degrees is perfect temperature. It's more than enough to set the keratin without being overly aggressive. You know, her goal is not to have super straight hair anyways. She wants that Texas volume. So I am going to go ahead and divide the hair into two big sections. Clipping this side. This side I will not. Remember, once the hair is flat ironed, you cannot clip it. So I have not flat ironed this side yet, but I'm about to do this side, so I don't want to clip the hair that I am flat ironing. So I'm going to divide this into two sections, just using the normal 4-part sectioning technique that we've all been doing since hair school. Now on this, again, some people start at the top and will flat iron and then throw it over. Some people start at the bottom. Both, there's nothing wrong with either one of them. For me, I tend to start at the bottom. So we are going to turn this around so you can get a better view. Turn Alexa. Okay. We are close. So here is one of the hardest decisions that you're going to be making, and that is how many passes with the flat iron. The very minimum amount of passes that you'll use would be 5 passes, 5 to 6. That'd be for one of those clients that have really curly hair that are just getting keratin in order to defrizz. Sure, it's flat ironed and straight today, but when they go ahead and shampoo their hair, they want to keep all their curls. You know those clients. They count their curls. They know how many they have. They want to see each one of them when you're done. On those clients, 5 or 6 passes at 380 degrees is going to be fine. On a client that wants more volume, wants that big Victoria's Secret come get me hair, that's usually 7 or 8 passes. So on Alexa, I'm using 380 degrees, and then I'm going to use 7 passes. Now, one thing that I do is I do go over the base just a little bit more. It's healthier, more resistant hair, and I don't really count that as a pass. So what I'm going to do is ask Alexa if she'll come up here and grab her ear for me. Just grab her ear down. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to take this hair. I'm going to grab my flat iron, and you see me go, run it over it a couple times. That tap, 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 I don't count that. So I go over that a couple times, and now I'm going to do my real counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what you'll notice, you look over here now, is first of all, for that first hair, I was not rubbing the flat iron back and forth like this. I go in, crimp the flat iron, pull it out, open it. Pull it out, open it. So really I'm kind of doing this. I'm only going in one direction. You never want to go back and forth on the hair. So again, crimping it out, crimping it out. Just doing that on the base, just kind of doing a 1, 2, 3 count, and then I'm going to count the rest of my passes as real passes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What that does is it goes ahead and makes sure this base is properly protected. You'll also notice that when I go on a pass, I'm a little slower up in here, and then I start to speed up a little bit at the ends, because the ends are a little bit more vulnerable. And feeling Alexa's hair and the smoothness of it, I'm on 380. I'm going to go ahead and go up to 390. Because what her hair is telling me is that it doesn't mind going up just a little bit more to get a very smooth pass. I'll come up here, grab the next section. And what I want is about 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to take my comb, make sure I straighten the hair, because you don't want to press hair into hair not straight. And then grab the flat iron, kind of do my 1, 2, 3. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I'm going to feel this, and this feels a little bit smoother than this did. So I know the temperature's right. Alexa, would you like to feel this? And now feel the first one. Do you feel how the first one's just a little bumpier?
Yes.
That's from that lower temperature. Your hair can take just a little higher heat. So then what I do is I'll meld these two together with one. That's it. And that kind of evens out the texture on that first one and doesn't overcook the second one. You'll be able to feel the smoothness of the hair itself. When it's smooth, you'll know the temperature was right. So I'm going to come in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, that's at 90 degrees because she wants volume. If she were trying to go very, very straight, we go straight at 0 elevation. So as much as possible, you want to include any breakage or baby hairs in, but don't overcook those. I mean, don't go with a super high temperature. If they're too small, don't risk burning your client's head for them. They'll catch up on the next time she gets her keratin. And even the keratin you put in, you'll reinforce some of that repair, even on those hairs, because of the blow dryer and whatever heat that it does get. But don't feel bad if some hairs pop out, the smaller ones. Don't stress and don't go in there looking for them, because they could be a little bit overly fragile anyways. So I don't like to take straight horizontal sections. I like to have slightly angled sections. You know, it's a habit from my balayage. You don't paint lines, you won't make lines. Well, same with flat ironing. If I don't make straight lines, I won't have them in the hair when I'm flat ironing. And so you'll see I catch the hair and then comb it through. That's to keep all the strands nice and straight. That way you're not pushing strands across one another to cause indentions in the hair. And if you start to get too angled, it's fine. Just divide it in half. The smaller the section, the better anyways. When you drop a comb, just make sure you have another. So the last hair from this section. All those detangles out. So, and then we'll move on to the next section. So I'm going to go ahead and turn her so you guys can see her. Now remember, once a section is flat ironed, you do not want to go ahead and put a clip in there anymore. So this is done. No more clips. Unless you plan on flat ironing it out. So for those of you just tuning in, like Ambrosio, the keratin that I'm using today is the Macvoil Extra Smoothing System. It's distributed by Salon and Spa Wholesaler. It's called the Macvoil Extra Smoothing System. It's a great extra strength keratin that will last for about 4 months. So if you look really close at her hair, you'll see there's just a little bit of a powder. If there's a little bit of powder, that is just dried keratin, where we had the keratin in our hair and we blew it dry. And so when we drew all the moisture out of it, a little powder was left behind. At the very end, after we're done flat ironing her, we can run a blow dryer to kind of blow the dry powder out, or it won't hurt anything. It just meant we had the hair properly saturated. Maybe a little bit more than it needed, a little bit more than it absorbed. But it's definitely not a bad thing. So again, when I come down here to her face, I'm asking her to grab her ear and pull it down. Okay, you let it go. Very smooth, very shiny. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, keratin is not a straightening system. While you can soften a curl up to 4 levels and make the hair straighter, it's not made to make the hair super straight. It's not made to break the disulfide and hydrogen bonds. For that, you'd need a relaxer or a perm. It is great, however, for people who have had relaxers in the past and are trying to transition to their natural hair. Then they can go ahead and do this one after a relaxer on their new growth to soften the curl up to 4 levels. So make sure that when you have people come in wanting keratin and their goal is to straighten their hair, you make sure to let them know that you can soften their curl, but it's not going to remove all the curl. I love keratin for my hair extension clients. Whenever we take their extensions out to move them up, I like to make sure my hair extension clients get keratin treatments. And then I also charge a reconditioning fee on hair extensions, and we'll do keratin for extensions also. Makes them last longer, keeps the frizz out. My clients can typically use their hair extensions a year to 2 years. And now we'll do the back. Once the back is done, we'll do a light dusting where we take off her dead ends. And then she'll be free to leave because she won't wash her hair for 48 hours. So I'll divide this into 2 sections. So I'm actually going to remove this towel. Just uncast it one more time. Just to make sure I get that log in. A little crink in there from the towel. This is just a keratin. This is a full keratin treatment. It has amino acids in it, but it is a keratin product. So you have some hair smoothing treatments out there that are amino acids, and they don't actually even have any keratin in them. This one does contain keratin, but it also uses amino acids to open up the cuticle and start the smoothing process. So it's kind of a hybrid. This is made right here in Houston, Texas, in our lab. We have the extra strength keratin, the organic keratin, and our Keratin Express line. And you'll see how much shinier and healthier her hair looks right now. She definitely does need a trim. But we've also been able to bond together some of the split ends that she had going on. So I prefer to use my extra strength keratin for almost all my clients. But I do use the organic keratin on my clients that are immunosuppressed or have allergies, or who need to shampoo their hair the same day. Hey Nita, from the UK. Have you guys opened back up over there yet? I have a lot of friends. I've taught in London a few times. It's nice when we have people from all over the world here. So I'm going to take this section, about 3/4 of it ends. Oh, you guys opened up on July 4th. Are you fully open, or do you guys have restrictions? I'm going to take my flat iron, I'm going to run it on that base a couple times, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See how smooth and shiny that is. And I come over here to this section. Fully bloody. PP is very, very important. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and pull these two sections out of the way a little bit. So each time what I'm aiming for is about a 3/4 of an inch thick section. Over here. Turn her slightly. Come here to the middle. $90 because she wants all the volume that she can get. Anybody struggling out there to sell keratins? Or have done keratins in the past, but haven't offered them in a while? Anyone have any questions about the process so far? There's still a bunch of you out there. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We are almost done. What would the regrowth be like for curly hair? Does this fully wear off over time, or is it permanent? Good question. What would regrowth be like for curly client? Does it fully wear off over time, or is it permanent? So keratin permanently bonds with the hair, but over time, the effects of that bonding go away. So when you first do keratin, should cut your blow dry time down by like 75, 80%. Should make the hair super smooth, should fight frizz, the hair should feel softer, stronger, hold a curl better. Over time it just starts to wear off, and that's just normal damage to the hair. There is no line of regrowth. You know, since I have stylists ask me, well, how much is a keratin retouch? A keratin retouch should be the same price as a full keratin. Because whenever you do keratin, you should do the whole head. You know, I don't just do the roots. The great thing is there is no line of demarcation, so it's not like color. You don't see where, you know, keratin stops or begins. It really is just how the hair is stronger, shinier, doesn't frizz. I charge $350. Is how much I charge for a keratin infusion. And then for a $40 additional cost, I offer the passport bond reconstruction treatment before I do the keratin. That repairs the disulfide and hydrogen bonds inside of the hair. So between the passport bond reconstruction treatment and a keratin, I'm able to make the hair look smooth and beautiful and a lot healthier, especially on those clients that have severely damaged their hair. So I'm just going to divide this in half because I can, because I like talking to you guys. I'm in Houston, Texas. I've seen some salons that are at like the $200 or $250 mark for keratin. Like I said, I'm $350. I usually don't have clients complain about it. You know, when I first explain it to them, I do get the, wow, that's a lot. But once they've had it done, most of my clients keep getting it done. I would say at least 70% of my clients have keratin. Even a lot of my guys have keratin now. with the undercuts. So they have the long hair on top and the undercuts underneath, so they get it. And does it affect the color at all? Actually, it should seal the color in. So what happens with color is you open that cuticle to remove color molecules from the cortex of the hair. And then you put color molecules in. When you're done with the color, you try to seal the cuticle, with a nice acid-based shampoo. And so that starts sealing those color molecules in. Well, with keratin on top of that, you're putting like a layer of shellac on the hair to seal color molecules in, smooth the hair, should make the color last longer. The one difference is sometimes on super light blondes, blondes are you open up the cuticle and light flows through it, flows in. Well, sometimes with keratin, it blocks that light a little bit for that first week, so it makes the hair look just a little bit darker until they've shampooed it a couple times. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So I am going to turn on the light and let you look at this because her keratin's done. Now what we're going to do is do a light trim on her, a light dusting. So let me turn on another light. So if you had too much keratin in her hair, too much of the product, when you were doing the blow dry and the flat iron, you might see a little bit of a light powder. That would be a dried keratin. I'm pretty good about using the proper amount and working it out, so I'm not seeing any powder at all in her hair. You guys can kind of look at it with me. Spin her around so you can see. Now, typically what we do now is a light dusting, take off those edges, clean up her hair a little bit, and then she would go home and she would not shampoo for 48 hours. So for 48 hours, she does not want to get her hair wet. She doesn't want to put any clips in it because the hair strands themselves are swollen with keratin. So it's like she has wet hair. And when you have wet hair, how it swells up. So it can kind of leave a little indentation. If she gets it wet, no big deal. Run a blow dryer through it, run a flat iron through it, one time, just lightly to smooth that out. But you'll notice that her hair looks a lot thicker because each individual strand is filled with keratin. So I'm going to get a pair of shears and we are going to do just a light dusting on her. Okay, I went ahead and got a couple pair of my favorite shears. And my favorite cutting comb from Pegasus. The 211 is awesome for cutting hair. These things are hard rubber, so they're good for keratin, they're good for color. They are barbicide, chasticide resistant, so you're not gonna stick them in the chasticide and have them all eaten up. I also use the Pegasus foiling comb, the 123, because it's super duper long. Look how long that is for doing foils. So those are my favorite combs. So Alexa, I need you to uncross your legs because the salon is no place to be a lady. And what we're going to do is just give her a little dusting. We're going to part her hair. And what we want to do is kind of get rid of some of those dry dead ends. I know she doesn't want to lose much in the way of length. So I'm going to adjust this tape a little bit. I'm going to make sure again that her legs are not crossed because we all know that'll give you a nice lopsided haircut. And I am going to take just a small little section down right here. Kind of set a perimeter on her and see how those ends are looking. Well, and Alexa has been eating too much food during the quarantine and has broken my chair. So I'm going to take this down. And I see that she has some breakage down here at this end. It's kind of breakage that is made for a very uneven perimeter. So we're going to take off about an inch, maybe a little less. A little less than that. And we're going to start going down here to that section. Now, this is probably a little bit more than the dusting that I normally do. You know, I do a complimentary dusting, which is just to take off those edges. But Alexa was nice enough to give up her Monday afternoon to come work with us today and be a volunteer. So the least I can do is give her a decent cut. So I'm just going to come here. I'm going to set this perimeter up. As I'm bringing it down, there's not as much that needs to come off. She was a little bit bead more than she probably should be. I'm going to round this out just a little bit. Again, just setting a perimeter so that when I come in and take off some of these ends, I know where to stop. She actually needs a good haircut, which, like most beautiful women, she does not want at the moment. So I'm going to just round that out a little bit, taking off the worst offenders, while keeping her perimeter away. Now, Alexa is an amazing educator and salon owner herself. For those of you here in Houston that want to go platinum blonde or do some extreme blonding, Alexa's your girl. You can find her at Alira Med Spa and Boutique Salon over on West Alabama. Just a tad. So I can lower her down just a little bit. Now I'm going to come up here. And we are going to section out the hair above her ears, because I don't want to cut into that front unless I'm up front with it. But what I'm not afraid to do is go ahead and do just a little bit in this back, take off some of those dry split ends. So I'm going to come up here and decide where her hair should live. how often would you offer to redo the service? Like weeks, months? So the Keratin Express is a monthly service. The organic keratin is once every 3 months, and the extra strength is once every 4 months. So, Nita, you asked me why I didn't cut it before. The reason I didn't cut it before was I tend to like to do a little trim after a keratin because you have all that heat on the ends of the hair. So you won't know, the ends of the hair are the most damaged part anyways. You don't really know what part you really need to cut off until you put that heat. That keratin isn't damaging the hair, but the heat that bonds it permanently to the hair can cause damage. So I typically do a light dusting just to take off dead ends at the end of every keratin service. Now, if a client really needs a good haircut, you could do color, then you could do the cut, then you could do the keratin. But I typically do color, keratin, cut. And the reason for that is I don't mind a dry cut. In fact, I do the majority of my cuts dry anyways. I don't mind wet cutting, but again, dry cutting is what I am best known for here in Houston. It's what I teach for a lot of shear companies. So dry cutting doesn't concern me. I like dry cutting. And I will charge for a full haircut. The complimentary dusting is on me, but a full haircut, that's on you. If you come in and you need that. So looking at her hair, I can see where some of that damage is. So I also know that she wants to keep some of that. So we're just gonna go ahead and over direct that a little bit. See where I want to. Bring it. So I've set a new guide for that back, and I can really hear it. I can cut it just a little bit if I want to. It's a little thicker. That has given me, I'm going to go ahead and drop out the side and just keep that center. I'm going to use this right here as a guide for bringing some more hair up from the back. Hold that. Again, I'm letting everything that wants to drop out, go ahead and drop out. And I'm going to come up in here. And where it's a little bit thicker, right in here, you see how it's thinner through there? I'm just going to come in here and point cut that a little bit. And so that way when I come back here and I look at it, I can see how much smoother that is. So now I'm going to come over here and take this side and take it behind the ear with this right here. Crossing your legs. And I'll do the same thing over on this side. So take this corner, take it about the center, and I'll hold the hair up to there. That way I'm not taking off too much hair. Kind of firm it up for layers slightly. Taking off some of the worst. Some of the worst. Here. Where it's a little thicker. That way nothing lays too thickly down at the bottom. Okay, now I can go ahead and blend that in with the front. Here, comb her straight back. Pull this up. Obviously gotta keep it a little longer. Take off just that tip. Make sure it's melded into this area. Excellent. Shears will come down. The same thing to the sides. You can already see how much smoother it is, how much better it lays, and we really didn't take off anything. I'll show you guys the floor when I'm done. But she hasn't lost any length. Come in here. Just no crossing any legs. Taking off just that outer area. Sides are good. So you'll see sometimes I switch back and forth with the dry cut just to go ahead and make sure I'm combing through, seeing where the hair naturally flows to. She wants all of her volume. Even today, leaving this keratin in her hair for the next 48 hours, you know, we still want to be able to see that she has movement. So the last thing I'm going to do is the front. see where it starts to turn. So let's get that a little bit out. Just kind of blend it. Do the same thing again. Where it starts to go thin, just kind of blend it. Each time, I'm letting the previous guide show me where I need to stop. And that allows me to take out just the minimum and blend that out. So obviously she was just a little bit more length on the side and the front. So blend that. Okay. Alexa, do you put on this side or the other side?
In the middle.
Middle instead of fall. So now what I can go ahead and do is, again, she didn't want flat hair when she was leaving. So I'm just running the blow dryer through it, same way she would at home. Kind of throw some body on it. Taking her cape off from her and letting her know, don't shampoo your hair for at least 48 hours.
I love that.
Well, that's our lesson today. Does anybody else have any other questions? Alexa, can you stand up for 1 second? Let's go ahead and take a good look at your hair. You want to toss it around for a minute? Now, obviously, you're not going to run a curling iron through it. You could smooth it with a flat iron again if you'd like to. But again, she does not want flat hair. She wants big hair. You'll see how much smoother, softer, stronger that it looks. And she still has plenty of movement for the next couple days. Any other questions? Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you all learned something. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and shoot us an email or check us out in the comments. We look forward to seeing you next Monday at 10 a.m. You have a nice day.